everybody, welcome to our Prohibition podcast, where you can learn everything about the best time in the United States.
Prohibition.
So, to put in a little context, Prohibition is a result of the temperance movement, a movement that wanted a lower or no consumption of alcohol. So Prohibition was supported by the church, and it stopped the manufacture, the transportation, and the trade of alcohol in the United States from 1920 to 1933.
Now we are going to talk about the values before Prohibition and why it needed to change. Alcohol gave a bad impression of society. In fact, alcohol had a bad effect on men generally. They became violent, their behavior was hard to handle, they spent all their money on alcohol, and we could see that children were mistreated, abandoned, or even neglected. Moreover, alcohol reduced the productivity of the workers. Therefore, alcohol was really bad for people, and it brought dysfunction to American society. With Prohibition came social problems because it reduced the consumption of alcohol, but it didn't stop it. People still want to drink, so violence and illegality always reigned. Nobody was happy, like bar or theater owners who lost their jobs due to the Prohibition. Crimes were organized, like gang like Al Capone, and that gave a bad image of the society, which suffered a large economic loss.
Unfortunately, with Prohibition came a curse, the speakeasies. Also called beer flat, blind pig, or blind tiger, a speakeasy is where illicit alcohol is sold and consumed. Speakeasies didn't appear with the Prohibition, but it became a way bigger business between 1920 and 1933. So alcohol was sold illegally because the 19th Amendment made it illegal to sell alcohol, as I said before. With speakeasies came jazz clubs. They became popular during the Prohibition, like I said, when speakeasies gained in popularity. In fact, a nationwide underground nightclub culture started, and jazz was the background or the dance music. Jazz culture advanced the career of jazzmen like Louis Armstrong or Duke Ellington, for example. New dance styles also started, like Charleston or Foxtrot.
The people who danced like that were named flappers. Flappers were young women of the 1920s in the USA, characterized by their independence and free spirit. They rebelled against traditional social norms. For example, they drank alcohol and smoked in public. They became a symbol of women's emancipation because they wore short skirts, wore makeup, and did what they want to do.
So there was a new role for women during the Prohibition. Some stupid women are against Prohibition and ran bootlegs and speakeasies. For example, Ellen Morgan or Texas Guinan, who owned multiple speakeasies. We can explain that because women were treated differently by law enforcement, differently than men, and usually didn't get charged as much. But on the contrary, some women were working with law enforcement to catch and arrest the female bootleggers. I love this woman. My best friend works with law enforcement. Yes.
Some traditions were broken with the Prohibition. Saloon tradition was destroyed. It was a central place where men met to socialize and to discuss business. The culture inside the family, like wine or beer consumption, was important during dinners or festivals, but it had to disappear. Wine family owned companies had to to close their door.
So sad.
Finally, prohibition didn't work because it favored corruption and criminality. Like we said, there were lots of problems like gang violence. On the economic side, the USA was in a bad state where lots of people didn't have jobs. And on the cultural side, it was also a disaster because everything had to close.
This shows us that the American society is not very developed because they can't even live without alcohol and without becoming violent freaks. This is the end of our podcast. Goodbye.